Hi, I'm Dr. Jim Olson.
And I'm Dr. Jen Lavallee, and we're here at Cat Specialist. We're going to show you how to give your cat fluids under the skin. There is another video about how to set up for the fluids, so if you need to watch that, you can go find that one. But this will be mostly just about administering the fluids. The first thing you need to start with is, when you're looking at a fluid bag, knowing how much to give. So fluid bags generally are 1 liter. And so 1 liter is 1,000 milliliters, and we generally give the dose in how many milliliters they ought to get. So this 1,000 is broken down so that you'll have 0 to 1, which is 0 to 100 milliliters, 100 to 200, 200 to 3, and so on. You'll see that the space between the 1 and the 2 and the 8 and the 9 are different, and that's just because of how the fluids hang in the bag. But each of these is an equal increment. And so right now this fluid bag is at about 50. And so if we wanted to give him 50 mils of fluid, we go from here to the 1. If you were going to give 100 mils of fluid, you go from here to between the 1 and the 2. Or 150, you go from here to the 2. So it requires a little mental math. But I do think that we have a good setup and a good start here. This is a fairly full bag. Once you get it down lower and you're at an absolute number, it might be easier. Okay, so now Red Hook, our clinic cat, the Maine Coon, is our volunteer to assist today, and he's going to help us show how you give these. It's fairly straightforward because it's given under the skin. This is not IV, this is sub-Q or subcutaneous, and so that's a lot easier. What we want to do to get this under the skin is not jab the cat with a needle, but rather lift the skin up, and they have looser skin over the shoulders. So you want to hold sharp things with your dominant hand, but you can lift the skin up with your non-dominant hand, and if your hand's like this, you'll be able to lift up and then pull actually a little bit forward. What that'll do is create a little tent, a little V of skin, and then you can get the needle in there and then allow the fluid to flow. What'll happen when you lift this up and a little forward is, if you put this at the base of that tent, you can actually almost pull the skin over the needle, which is a lot, I think, easier and less scary than having to jab into a cat. So now we'll start the fluids. These needles are a little larger than other injections, just so it doesn't take all day to give the fluids. It'll flow faster through a larger bore. There's an eyelet at the end of the needle, and you want that eyelet or that bevel to be up, so you should see sort of a little oval at the end of the needle. That'll allow the needle to go in easier, and you want a fresh needle every time you do this, so this is already a fresh needle. So I stand behind the cat, I'll lift up the skin here, I'll move it forward just a little bit, put the needle at the base, and then pop the skin over that. And you see there was just a little reaction there, because it is a little mosquito bite, but then once we get the fluids to run, generally I'll sort of hold back here by the cat. Then you just got to let a little time pass as the fluids drip, and that shouldn't hurt at all. If anything, they just lose patience sitting here. And I generally don't hold at the needle, because then if the cat moved backwards and you held the needle, that would jab. If you hold down here and the cat moves, everything moves together. So then as this flows, a little bleb will form over their shoulders. It'll start to look like a little backpack sitting there, depending on how many fluids you're giving. And that'll be kind of squishy, a little hump. You can call them Quasimodo then, but it will slowly dissipate and absorb, usually over 6 to 12 hours. And it's not uncomfortable for them. They can sleep, anything they want to do is fine while that hump is there. For the purpose of demonstration, I'm not going to let this get to be that big a hump, but I'll show you that when the fluids are running, if we look at the little fluid drip chamber, it is dripping, and that shows me that the fluid's moving from the bag down the line into the cat. When I clamp this off, there's a roll clamp. When I roll that off, you want to do this before you take the needle out, then the drip chamber stops dripping, and now that it's not flowing, we can take the needle out. When you do this, it's kind of nice to pinch around the skin as you pull the needle out, because it can drip. There's a hole in the skin and it can drip, and then you can sort of massage that area, make it more comfortable, and it almost always there's a few drips of fluid that will leak out of that, and don't be alarmed by that, that's okay. But hopefully these tips and hints will make it a lot easier for you and your cat to do this at home. And if you have questions, you can always give us a call. Thank you.